Okay. Well, first of all, my name is Watter Heyden, and I live in Louisiana, and my my age is 81 years old, and I just turned 81 in February. But the main reason why I think it's important to stay healthy, keep from getting sick and suffering, you got to eat right, and you got to do everything in moderation. I found out that if I eat too much, then I get discomforted. So then I'm not able to do the activities that I want to do. But the only reason why I think I concentrated on biking is because when I was young, I used to bike to work every day. So it was an activity that I always enjoyed. Then I participated in a bike race in Holland, and in spite of my size was smaller than the rest of the competition, I won fifth place. And so that kind of encouraged me to continue biking. And in fact, when I was growing up, I was even contemplating on uh, to participate in the Tour de France at some point in time, because I was good at it. But that never happened. Obviously it costs money, and it's dedication, and I had to go to school still, and so that was primary. That was a primary. Over time, I did very little actually as far as biking is concerned. That only happened in later in my life when I retired, and I found out myself being out of uh, shape because I had been eating irregularly. I had times overeaten, because I was on a routine. Being on the job required me to be out in the field a lot of times. So I brought my lunch with them, which me every day, which I packed the lunch every morning, and then I ate it throughout the day. And so all of that, without too much strenuous activities, I added to my weight. So I was always been 150 pounds all of my life, essentially, until I uh, reached about 60 or 70 years old, 60 or 65 years age. And then I gained weight because I was living in life that was, without strenuous exercises or even moderate exercises, but mainly, uh, sedentary things that, didn't require a whole lot of effort. So I gained weight, and at one point in time, I weighed myself. I was 180 pounds, which for my size is way overweight. I needed to do something with my health because I was, increasingly because of my overweight, was increasingly discomforted, and especially was when I was uh, doing physical things. So when I decided, well, I was going to do uh, better in my physical activities, I decided to go on a bike ride. And the bike was there. It had been all there all the while. We've been lugging around from place to place. I mean, we moved, but it never dawned on me that I should use that bike, to exercise with, even though I've always loved the biking. So it didn't happen until 2010 when I was, in my 60s, 67, in fact, I was at the time. And I decided I was going to try biking, as a daily activity. But I soon found out that, over after only going a mile and a half or so, I was huffing and puffing. I wasn't breathing right. I knew all of these things, were going to happen because I had been out of touch with biking for so long. So I decided, well, I got to do something about this. And so I started biking, gradually working up the mileage. And it took me probably a good week or a month or so before I even get out of town, which was like maybe 4 or 5 miles. But I've kept that up, the routine, on a daily basis, and found out that it was getting easier and easier all the time. But it was the main thing I would say about getting into something is dedicate yourself to it and not um, start something and not finish it, not continue. In other words, does over the years, it did dawn on me that it requires dedication and discipline more than anything, because it's so easy to give up on things. But I found out that if I dedicated myself a block of time, a couple of hours or so, on just doing that, improving my health by biking, that I felt better about it. And then soon I lost weight because of my physical exercises, and my breathing started improving, so I was able to go further. So I eventually went 10 miles, out, and then 10 miles back. So that's 20 miles in that one day. So that was a significant achievement. But it took some time, and it took some dedication and discipline, And I used to bike whether it was raining or shining, or when it was cold or hot. I mean, I always kept it up. Put a counter on my bike, recording, what I was doing, how far I was going, and how much I was accumulating. It intrigued me to say, well, this week or this month I accumulated so many miles. So then it became kind of like a goal to achieve certain amount of miles per month. For 14 years now, I have recorded every mile on my counter, and so I have a log of it basically. And so in this year, in April 26th, I achieved 50,000 miles on this bike, which is a significant achievement, obviously, for my age, because I'm 81. And so after I turned 81, I reached 50,000 miles, which is, it's quite a feat. But that's only because, again, I think that, it has to be done with discipline in mind, and a proper diet, and good sleeping. I mean, regular hours to go sleeping. So it was a sacrifice, obviously, because you would have to take an hour to 2 hours of your time out of each day. But as long as it's done, I would say consistently. That's the word I would like to use. I was consistent, even though sometimes I didn't feel good. Maybe I had a headache or something, or a tummy ache. I still went, and I found out that every time I did, I felt better. It did improve whatever I was doing with this exercise. That it improved my general health condition. So staying at home when you feel bad, it's not necessarily the best way for you to get over it, because as long as you get to suffer through it, you might as well do something, that takes your mind away from suffering of pain. So it's important, I think, in a busy life, and I was still working at the time too. I mean, I've been working ever since. So that's another thing that I would recommend, is to keep your mind occupied, with challenging things. So that's what I did. I kept working, and in spite of that, I still say, okay, I would take time to do this exercise. And so it's a combination of mental wellness as well as physical wellness. Because if you don't have the thing in combination, I think that, you cannot prepare yourself properly for the physical part of it, for physical health being. So they go hand in hand. Your mental health is just as easily affected by things that you do as physical is when you don't do physical exercise. And if you're latent, or you're sedentary, that affects your physical health. But mentally, if you don't challenge your mind, then your mind is going to get sick as well. So I think mental health, it's a condition that people get into because they don't exercise their mind so much. So as far as outdoor life is concerned, I think that's what most people in America anyway, neglect, I would think. And so, you get sicker and sicker, basically. You accumulate afflictions, I would say afflictions, in different ways, because the body has to be exercised. It's a machine that's created for activity. Not for sedentary living. In other words, sitting on the couch and watching TV, or being computer even. So you got to balance your life, I think, with mental activities and physical activities on a daily basis. Firm in convicted in your convictions, regular, but flexible in your approach to it. That's the main thing. I said, you got to be flexible. You cannot be, a religious nut or a fanatic about it. I mean, it's got to be something that it's easily, thought about, as far as, okay, if I can't bike in the morning, I bike in the evening or in the afternoon, or vice versa. So you got to be flexible in that. But so long as you do the exercise, that's the main thing. Because if you're working, you got to schedule things so that if you get back from work, you can be back biking for an hour or so before you go eat. I think that's I would say the main thing is that if you are committed, to a regular exercise and good diet. So I think that must be the main reason why I think that I achieved, the age that I have with as much activity as I do on the 2 hours per day, doing this biking thing, that I am still being very healthy and take care of myself and not be dependent on others. Because that's one of my prayers is not to be, a burden to anybody, and be active myself, and I can do that on my own. In other words, I take care of myself, and so that nobody else has to take care of me, because I've got a responsibility to my own self, to stay healthy. And then if you're not healthy and you can't take care of yourself and be responsible, then you cannot be any good for anybody else.